and then in between, when you'd have 12 or 15 hours where you didn't have to do anything, you go like, okay, let's go, and then you go like, anything could happen, and you could go anywhere in the city, and you sort of had a thumbprint of okay. You could go into any place, and people would be like, come on in, and you got to, really, I mean, I probably could have done, gotten more out of it, but I certainly got a lot. I put a lot into it. I got an amazing kind of education. I got an amazing education, but I guess that gets back to sort of, I got to put my education to use, is what I should say. I mean, in this kind of new challenging environment, I got to put what my education had to that point had been to use.
What was the adjustment like going from being broke to all of a sudden having money, being famous, living in New York City, trying to make sense of this new reality that you live in?
Boy, golfers had what they call a shag bag, which was like a small bag of golf balls, like 100 golf balls or something like that. And they would dump them out on the practice tee, and you would run out there with the bag, and you would be the target. Okay, go out about 70 yards, 60 yards, and then they'd start hitting.
Did you ever wear that?
No, but that would be safer than what I was wearing. We didn't have that. But I was just out there. Yeah. But I was definitely out there, and they would aim at you. And the thing was, it would last for an hour or so. And, I was 10 when I started doing this. So your mind would wander, and occasionally you'd hear like a ball land next to you or really close. I never got conked exactly on the head, but I definitely got hit on one bounce on any number of times. But you were just a target. And then he'd wave in the next club, and you'd go like 7 iron, so you'd have to back up a little farther and then farther. And the bigger the club, the wider the dispersion of the ball. People looked into each other's eyes. You walk by someone on the street,
Yeah.
and every person on the street looked right in your eyes.
Yeah.
And that lasted for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
People in New York walk with their head down. They look like
Right.
they're reading a paper. But people just looking by like, okay, we're in this.
Yeah, together.
Yeah.
And I think some people actually obviously hated the act of what happened, but loved the way people reacted and how people felt with each other. It did feel different. New York City felt friendly. It felt united. It felt like people were proud to be American. We're all together. Mm-hmm. There's bad people out there. They did this to us, but we're all together.
Well, okay, so what we have here with the situation of like just using San Francisco as the idea is like it's just a gentler version of something that we could all say this is something that we have to go to war about.
And then they come back shell-shocked.
And then you come back with shell shock on top of it. And then back then the sort of kind of, I don't want to say it a macho thing, but back then people just didn't want to talk about it, which to me was what is part of what created the hippie generation was kids couldn't get their parents to talk about anything that they thought mattered.
Right.
They what their parents were talking about was like, huh? Wait, what about peace, love, and what's so wrong about peace, love, and understanding, right?
Right.
So, and they couldn't get to that because even the idea of peace was a completely different concept to someone that lived through a world war.
Yeah.
Or lived through a depression. So these kids were like, I don't even understand who these people are. I know they're flesh and blood, but I don't know that. I don't know what the hell they know and why they're this way. But he chose people that lived a very intentional purpose during that very, very difficult, challenging time where they just went, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what all this is, but I do what I do know. I do know what I do know, and stay through that.
And they're actually trying to get what's called a surprise shot. They're not executing the shot like you would like a rifle trigger. Most of these guys use what's called a hinge. And so that's what they're going for. They're looking for. So with a hinge, you don't make the hinge, you don't make the release go off like with a button where you press a button. It's just a rotation of the handle, and you don't know when it's going to go off. So you draw it back.
So you're
like
not
this.
like letting go with your fingers?
No.
Oh.
You have a metal release in your hand that has a hook, and the hook is attached to a sear.
And by just
By
torquing
rotating,
your wrist, rotating it,
it breaks.
It's
and so the hook breaks.
So
and so
that's-
see the
that
or some of
feels
them
like
use
such
a
a big-
thumb, like that guy with the yellow and black. That guy. So he's got a thumb trigger. So what he's doing is he's setting the trigger, the barrel of the trigger, right where his thumb is, and he's just using the pulling of his arm to make it go off. He's not executing it with his thumb. The process of aiming is so engrossing when you lock in place and you're aiming and then you're pulling back with the shot. Like, you're all in. You're all there, especially if you're good. If you're good, that is the only thing you're thinking of. And there's a moving meditation aspect to it, a cleansing of your mind. Your worries go away. Your thoughts, the things that are bugging you, and I got to do this, and I got to call that guy back, and all of it goes away. Because it's so engrossing. It requires so much
So
of you.
how do you affect that yourself? How do you move that away from the incidental thoughts that pop in?
Well, it's just the difficulty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the difficulty of it actually sort of facilitates your meditative mindset. Because if you're going to do it right, there's no other way to do it. You literally can't be thinking about other things while you're doing it.
Well, it's not unlike golf. Like if you're thinking
Right.
about what you got to pick up on the way home,
Exactly.
you're not going to hit a good golf.
Same as pool. When I play pool at a pretty high level, like I bet that book would be very beneficial to me. It's very challenging because you're supposed to have as little movement as possible upon the execution of the shot, and so there's all these strategies.
Yeah. They started televising it lately. It's really
Yes.
cool to watch.
Oh,
It's very cool to watch.
Yeah.
And they've got them. Cameras are right on their face and just
Mm-hmm.
the torso, just like this, and you're like, God dang, that's beautiful. That's as good a
Yes.
close-up as any Robin Hood movie ever had. It's
Yeah.
just great.
No, I love
Yeah.
watching it. I watch it on YouTube all the time. There's these Las Vegas shootouts where they have 3 targets and they have 30 different shots. So they're trying to get an X 30 different times, and they're standing next to the best archers in the world. Everyone's at probably like 20 meters, and they're all just focusing, like dead still, completely calm, focusing.
What's
focusing.
that? Where do you find that?
Oh, you can find it. Like, go to Lancaster Archery, Vegas, and they have what they call a Vegas faith.
I know. I don't play enough pool, but I did. I had to shoot some pool in Groundhog Day, so I got with a guy who's a pool expert, and he just gave me drills to do.
Do you remember his name?
No, but if he remembers, he should say hi. Anyway, he taught me a bunch of things, and I'm still very disappointed because when we actually shot the scene, I think I sank like 9 balls and 7 balls, 8 balls in 3 shots, and I went. We got that, and the cinematographer was like, well, let's set it up then. I'll set up a different shot. I said, what are you talking about? He had half of the table. In the shot.
Oh, no.
All right, I'm gonna take a leak again.
Okay. You want to wrap it up? We can wrap it up.
No, that's okay.
Okay. All right. Take a leak and come back. All right. And when you're shooting that precisely, that anticipation of that recoil might make a difference of an inch or two left
Tension.
or right. Yes,
Sure.
that tension.
So you try to not anticipate, so it
Yes.
really does surprise you.
When you are doing that, you do not think about anything else. It clears your mind. When you are just concentrating on that target, you cannot think about your bills.
And so you do it.
Yes.
And when a thought does come into your head, you don't hit the target.
Yes, but it doesn't come in your head. It can't. It's too hard. The process of aiming is so engrossing when you lock in place and you're aiming and then you're pulling back with the shot. Like, you're all in. You're all there, especially if you're good. If you're good, that is the only thing you're thinking of. And there's a moving meditation aspect to it, a cleansing of your mind. Your worries go away. Your thoughts, the things that are bugging you. That had been a fucking bizarre experience.
Yes, it was. It was a great experience for sure. And you saw, your life just changed dramatically from being, barely able to pay your rent or afford, a car, a telephone, anything like that, to having a credit card. Like that was a big thing, credit card and a credit card. And, we had to, because they wanted it safe, we had this sort of cab account with a thing called Skulls Angels. There was a sort of company within the yellow cab company called Skulls Angels, and you could call them and they would pick you up anywhere in the city and take you wherever. And it was just, you just signed your name. You didn't have to have any money. And I had a credit card and that account, and that's all. And I just lived for a couple of years like that. How do you like evaporate the walls of separation and say, like, how do we get the right people with the right minds to solve these questions? These are real things, and people argue about them. You and I are not arguing, but we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And neither one of us are sleeping on the street.
Right.
We both feel compassion for it, empathy for it. But how do you get people that are far removed, and we could say we're far removed from it, to like allow the solution to take place
From one side or the other?
From one side,
Yeah.
any side. Who gives a
Yeah,
damn who's got it right?
Well, it has to be a completely bipartisan thing. We have to look at it in terms of the health of human beings in our community, right? This country is supposed to be our community. These people that are on the street, they are sad, sick people in our community. And some real effort has to be taken to try to change that instead of just enable them to keep doing it. That's all I'm saying. I just don't think that the solution is let them camp wherever they want, let them shit in the streets.
Argue. I'm not. There's no
No,
argument to what
no,
you're saying.
no, no, I
There
don't
is
think
no
you are.
argument. I'm going to go off on tangents now, but I always kind of had an objection to Tom Brokaw's book, The Greatest Generation, because I thought, well, damn it, that's not my generation. Why? How do they get that? But I did start reading some of it recently, and to his credit, he's finding people that are very singular in that generation.
Which generation is he referring to?
Well, he's talking about the generation that won World War II.
Okay.
And that generation was formed by the Great Depression. That was part of what they had. And then they had a World War that lasted 5 years. And it's really hard for people of a certain age to understand. You think you have problems with your relationship. Have your lover go away for 5 years and see how well you're doing upon that person's return.
Right.
See what the hell that's like for 5 years. And like, you didn't answer my letter. My letter.
Right.
Your letter? What letter? That your letter never came. It's decluttering. It's like when you do it in your life and you talk about you mentioned distractions at the very beginning. You think about all the things that can catch you. To distract you. And if you're trying to do something that's pretty straightforward, whether it's stir grits or sew a line of something or play a game of golf, in which ideally you only have to hit the ball like 75 times everything that distracts you from that is a problem. So it's the ability to like sort of just pull the weeds out of your head, as I read a Japanese man say once, and attend to it when you attend to it. It's it's a few hours to play a round of golf, like you say. It takes a little time, but the actual playing of the game is only minutes. Well, the question is, how long have I been caddying for? So I started caddying when I was very young. Our eldest brother Edward started caddying.
So Caddyshack must have been a lot of fun for you then.
Yeah, well, Caddyshack came. My brother Brian Brian wrote it with Doug Kenny, one of the really great funny guys from National Lampoon, and Harold Ramis, who ended up directing the movie. But all the golf stuff is all Brian's, memories of caddying. And the whole golf story comes from Brian, sort of. They all write jokes, but Doug was in charge of all the fancy lad stuff. His dad was some sort of tennis pro sometime or other in Ohio. And Harold wrote the jokes that were left and shaped it and directed it.
So you started off caddying.
Yeah.
And
I
then
started as a
playing.
shag boy, which doesn't even exist anymore.
What is that?
There's a thing called a jam boy, which I don't know if it really exists. My friend Duff insists that back in the day there was a thing called a jam boy who walked around, I think it was a slave or something like it, who walked around covered with jam to draw the insects away from the golfers. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. We should ask your listeners. But I was
No, they
just
say,
what do they say?
There's no incentive. There's no incentive for them to do a better job, and there's a very compassionate perspective in the city. They're very kind people, and they don't want to take these homeless people and remove them. And that this sort of suicidal empathy that they have for the people in their city is causing this rash of tents everywhere and crime, and you have to leave your fucking car unlocked, otherwise they're going to smash your windows. And it's just, that's what his perspective is. It's that there's no real incentive to do anything different because these people are still getting paid to keep it the way it is. It's not, the amount of money they make is not based on how much good they do. So like if they're incentivized to, like, you get paid more if more people clean up, seek treatment, get on medication, get to a mental health institution.
Yeah.
If you can show some sort of progress, it'll affect how much money you get, and vice versa. If you have no progress and nothing gets done and the problem actually gets worse, perhaps you're not doing a good job.
Well, that sort of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
If you get results,
Yes.
you get encouraged by getting more money. But
Yeah.
So does this remind you of anything?
If you got a group of people that are part of your community and you're completely ignoring their plight, that's not good for anybody. That's not good for big business. That's not good for the common folk. That's not good for people in the neighborhood. It's not good for anybody. And it's gotten so far because it's so big now. The problem is so enormous. It's almost too big to tackle. It's almost like, okay, you're dealing with LA. You're dealing with 100,000 people living on the street. That's so many fucking people. That's the entire population of Boulder. That's Boulder, Colorado, in tents on the street in LA. That's crazy. It's almost too big. And I talked to Mayor Adler, who was the mayor of Austin at the time when I first moved here, and he had a bunch of plans in place to help the homeless people, and they did an amazing job because it got pretty bad here during the pandemic.
I remember there being homeless here, yeah.
They got hotels, they put people up, they put together programs, they got people jobs.
And that's, I guess that, I don't know how this relates me to this idea of bureaucracy, but people that do know the facts have got to stay with the facts, even in the face of like all the blunderbussing above about, there's this and there's that. You've got to be really dedicated to what you do know and realize that there's lots that you don't know. But if you give up what you know in the name of, jostling over here, then there's even more lost.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think most people who get involved, particularly if they get involved in something like homeless or, any charitable organization, most of the people who get involved aren't doing it cynically. They're not doing it to get that big paycheck. Their initial reason for being involved in something like that is to help. The problem is sometimes when they realize it's just a big clog and you're not going to be able to do any meaningful good, then things get weird. And then you just sort of exist off of this system that's not doing anybody any good. This is his argument about why so many people are working on this and nothing's getting better.
Let's see. I should show off this shirt. This is a shirt because my sort of brother had something to do with this one. This has got like all this stuff from Chicago on it.
Oh, nice.
It's got, I haven't even looked at this yet.
Guitars.
Well, there's guitars.
Looks like a
on it.
pizza
So
place.
it's sort of, I don't know why there's tambourines and stuff on it. I have no idea. And there's always a glass of beer for some reason.
There's a drum.
But there's a bunch of references to people we know and things we did in Chicago. And I see there's like the names of some character in a movie I played. And then there's Slew's Place. That's my friend Jeff Sluman, who's a golfer. I think you're going to like this shirt here, Jamie. How's that for you?
Oh, that's perfect. That's Jamie.
It survived
Yeah.
everything. It's like a resilient, extraordinary place, you know?
It's still got a lot of extraordinary aspects to it. The problem is they kind of encouraged people to sleep on the streets and shit anywhere they want, and they didn't do anything about it. And it just got
You
a
really
little
think
crazy.
they encourage people?
Well, they
I didn't
they
see
definitely
that
make it
billboard.
financially viable for them to do it. They give them money to do it. They
Well, that sounds like
allow
they're
them,
paying them the shit on the street.
No,
That
they're
can't be
paying
right.
them so that they don't have to be poor or homeless. I mean, they have a tent and they'll help them. They'll subsidize this existence. What they need is more mental health
But
care.
is it? But
It's a mental
second
health
ago,
issue.
we've
It's drug
sort of-
addiction and mental health. That's the real problem.
Yeah.
And
So-
when you don't address it and then you just allow people to camp anywhere you want, you're almost sort of encouraging mental health problems to be everywhere, all throughout, and just be throughout the entire city. It's just a lack of empathy for the people.
like encased in this bureaucracy are people that can solve the problems. And that if you just sort of, I'm not saying this is the case, but if you sort of just like zip a bunch of the bureaucracy out, you run the risk of zipping out some of the people that actually have the brains to do the solutions. And what this person said was, the solution to the bureaucracy is within the bureaucracy that is finding the people that know what can be done, because they really do have the data. They really do work. They actually do show up for work, and they actually have the data on how to do this thing. But because it keeps being fed from above all the time, there's just all this extra debris and noise that keeps coming down that causes more clutter and more splitting and more something.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to suggest that I could solve the question of bureaucracy today, but I think there's something about what we have. I put a lot into it. I got an amazing kind of education, I got amazing education, but I guess that gets back to sort of, I got to put my education to use, is what I should say. I mean, in this kind of new challenging environment, I got to put what my education had to that point had been to use.
What was the adjustment like going from being broke to all of a sudden having money, being famous, lived in New York City, trying to make sense of this new reality that you live in?
Well, I'll try to do them in order. Well, being broke was, I should tell you, I'm here in Austin, Texas. This is a William Murray golf shirt I brought you. Somehow I got involved with these clothes. The clothes got involved with me, and that's me. That is I in that person right there. And I brought you a pair of shorts.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I also brought licorice, which you don't want. So I don't know
He's
what
a
kind
licorice
of,
dealer.
I don't know what to make of you.
Trying
You
to
don't want
pass out licorice.
Anyway, the shorts are very. You're not too chubby, but the shorts are very forgiving. I actually
Are
ran
these
out
golf
of clothes.
shorts?
I've been traveling. Well, they're kind of golf. So are you gray? Are you a gray
I can wear
guy?
gray. Yeah, sure, I'll wear that.
That's what I thought. I thought you'd be a gray guy. Those are for you.
Thank you very much.
They've got my name on them, so if
All
they get
right.
lost, they'll be returned to me. Yeah. So Jennifer Coolidge has got some unbelievable things to say in the movie. She's got some amazing things to say. And Ed Harris is really, really good in the movie. Pete Davidson, who I had no idea about, we were sidekicks in the movie, and we had a very good time, did some good stuff. This Lewis Pullman, who's Bill Pullman's son, is really good. I mean, and Emanuela, she got Italian, Postacchini, like that. She's just wonderful and beautiful. And Gabby Union, I call her Gabrielle Union. And Miles, whose last name I can't remember because I just want to call him Miles Davis, but that little kid in there, he plays the voice of the Electric Junior Bunny show or something like that on Nickelodeon or something like that. He does like weird cartoon voices.
Oh, yeah?
So if you watch a lot of Nickelodeon cartoons.
I don't anymore. My kids are teenagers now.
Oh, really?
I used to.
I used to.
I could tell you all about.
I had made a season with this other guy, and people went, "When are you going to kill off the Lone Ranger?" No offense to that man's family. I'm sure it paid for somebody's college, but oh, come on, I almost had it.
The guy's name?
Yeah.
Jamie will find it.
Jamie, you got a lot on your plate.
I switched over to the Lone Ranger. I was looking at people that were listed here. I'll give you this one, dead or
come
alive.
on.
There's a few people listed here as guest
I actually
stars.
saw him someplace. He came
Is
to like
he one
a
of these
jewel.
names? Michael
It's
Landon?
not Landon, Warren Oates.
Warren Oates?
I was looking.
It's
down
definitely
here.
not Coburn.
No, it's none of those guys. Lon Chaney's misspelled,
All
but
right.
it's not those guys. I did one with Wes Anderson called The Phoenician something. That's the title. It's, I'm sorry, Wes. The Phoenician. You know what it is? The Phoenician Scheme. And I have a lot of trouble with names nowadays. But the guy who did the set design, can you figure that out? This guy is the most famous. He's the best there is now. These are the most beautiful sets I've ever seen in any movie. Come on. It's coming. I'm sorry, everybody, but I just haven't been getting enough sleep.
No worries.
Anyway,
The power of the
that's a
internet.
great movie. That we shot that in Berlin, and there's great people in it. Some people will think I must see that, but I guarantee you, movie is really, really funny.
I love a movie where I don't get to see the trailer. I
Yeah.
really do. Where
I
have
would
no
say,
idea how
yeah,
it goes
you
down.
could say, yeah, you could not show the trailer. That would be
Yeah.
okay. There was one. I saw one that was like just the first part of that, and then they just added this, and I was hoping that was what it was, but this,
Yeah, it could have
This kind of
been.
makes it seem like a little bit putanesca. It's just a little bit too much stuff in it. A little bit too much stuff for me. Maybe.
Yeah, we
Let's
can take
think
it
about
out.
it. But
Yeah, we'll think
anyway,
about
it's good. And
It
Jennifer,
looks great.
Yeah. So Jennifer Coolidge has got some unbelievable things to say in the movie. She's got some amazing things to say. And Ed Harris is really, really good in the movie.
Like, he would make me feel like I wasn't doing enough. Like, he'd have, like, all of his scripts would have tabs for all the scenes that he was in, and then he'd have notes underneath each thing, and everything would be organized. He had a 3-ring binder he would put the script in.
Well, that's going too far.
Who would hole
Okay,
punch
see.
the moment he got the script, put it in the 3-ring binder. Oh, yeah. No, he
See,
was...
I didn't have that much faith in the scripts. I knew they were going to change a lot from Wednesday to Friday. If it was a big scene, I knew they would rewrite it the next 2 days.
Well, there was a lot of
I
that.
didn't because it's hard to unlearn.
Yes.
So I would not learn
Yeah.
because unlearning is really hard.
Yeah.
Like if you have a sketch that's this long and all of a sudden it's this long, you got problems.
Have you ever met Dave Foley?
I think so. He was
Kids in
one
the
of the
Hall?
guys from.
Your personal lawyer came to Washington.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you
Pretty
see,
fucking good.
It's good. Yeah, he's really good. So I never got around to finding out where Frank Langella lived in New York or calling him up. But maybe someone who knows him, listens to your show, will say, "Hey, Frank, you got a shout out today in Texas."
That guy's great. He was great as Dracula, too.
Yeah.
That whole Nixon Watergate story, I used to think about it very differently until Tucker Carlson broke it down for me. Bob Woodward was an intelligence agent, and the first time he ever gets a job as a journalist, he's covering Watergate. The FBI, all the people that were involved in the break-in, FBI people, like it was a complete intelligence operation. Nixon definitely did the things they accused him of, but the whole thing was sort of coordinated by the intelligence agents to get Nixon out of office. Apparently, what the story was, according to, I can play you the Tucker thing if you'd like to see it. But apparently, what the
That's
story
okay, I
was, yeah, well, he would just draw you in all of his films, and just it's like in a way that was it was just different. It's just like it was a different presence on screen.
There's that guy.
Sawed-off rifle.
See, it's a sawed-off. It's not a shotgun. It's a rifle.
What
And he
year
had
was
see that
this?
little shtick he's got it so it locks in and then swings back. So he could actually, if he wished to,
I
you better
never
hope
s-
he better not wish to against you two. He could just sort of swivel it and fire while it's still attached to his waistband. to
I
his
never
belt.
saw this show. I didn't even know
You
it
never saw this
existed.
show?
I didn't know it existed until right now.
What kind of a citizen are you?
I am a little young.
You know what I did see the other night? Did you ever see Frost and Nixon?
No.
It's a movie that was made, and back in the day after Watergate, is his name David Frost? He was a British interviewer, cat, and he staged. He had this idea he was trying to he sort of lost his place in the universe of England anyway, or the world, and he came up with this idea somehow to if he could somehow get an interview with Richard Nixon, and it's a pretty well-made movie. It's a very well-made movie about it. And they paint Frost pretty much as like
maybe what he was like, sort of what my perception is of kind of what he was like. Not a perfect person, but certainly not, but certainly got some juice, certainly has some sort of idea of something going on. That sounds very small, but he was a little complicated. That's the cheating word. And Nixon too. And I just want to say that Frank Langella, who I only know from he was kind of like a Broadway guy, and he did some horror movies. There's
Great
Naomi,
name.
and there's the dog. The dog is that big. See how big it is?
It's fucking huge.
Yeah, that's the words for it.
Yeah, that's a Great Dane.
Isn't it? It's an amazing dog, and the script is great. It's written it's from a book written by a woman named Sigrid Nunez. And can you pop up on the titles there, maybe? No, the other thing. Yeah, these guys directed it. These guys, Scott McGehee and David Siegel, and they wrote the script from this book, and it's a great script.
Nobody can hear you over there, unfortunately.
Huh?
Nobody can hear you over there with Greg Proops and all those guys.
And they kill.
yeah.
I mean, there's I knew they were going to kill, because I know how good my brother is as an improviser. He can, if you get good at it, and my brother is really good at it, far better than I ever was or what could hope to be, because he's really kept at it, and so he really goes hard at it. He's really good at it. I knew that they would kill. I didn't realize how much fun the show would be from an audience perspective. Like, they drag a lot of people up on the stage, and I think, well, that can go any old way at all.
Yeah.
And they managed to get, the show I saw, they had people in the audience that probably should have been hired. They were that funny. But there's something about the uncertainty of bringing up someone from the audience that raises the energy level and the expectation and the possibility.
Yeah.
And the crowd goes crazy for it. And the actors, the performers go crazy too, because it's like, God damn, they just killed us. They just came up here and murdered us.
He had tried to divorce her a few times, tried to leave a few times, it always went back. And
yeah, and that's also the guy. He would go back and keep trying
Yeah.
to make things work. Yeah.
yeah, he was a very unusual guy. And what a fucking professional. Like, you'd make me feel like I wasn't doing enough. Like, he'd have, all of his scripts would have tabs for all the scenes that he was in. And then he'd have notes underneath each thing, and everything would be organized. He had a 3-ring binder he would put the script in.
Well, that's going too far.
Who would hole
Okay,
punch
see.
the moment he got the script, put it in the 3-ring binder. Oh, yeah. No, he was...
See, I didn't have that much faith in the scripts. I knew they were going to change a lot from Wednesday to Friday. If it was a big scene, I knew they would rewrite it the next 2 days.
Well, there was a lot of that.
I didn't, because it's hard to unlearn. And people make the making of a movie part of their living. Like Wes is probably the most extreme example in that. Like, we all live in a quasi dormitory. We take over a small hotel in some city, and all the actors and the key crew live in the hotel. And you come down for breakfast in the morning, and people pad down in their slippers and their jammies, and they have coffee and stuff, and they look at the newspaper and say, "What are we doing today?" And then they pad back up the stairs and get on their clothes, and they go to work. It's cool. It's really nice. It really is like what you always thought it would be, like in the old days. Like, what if we all lived in a dorm and we were just being funny all day, like that.
Yeah. What was it like working on Kingpin?
Well, those guys have more fun making movies than anyone. They really make it fun. What did you do with Phil Hartman?
News Radio was a sitcom we did together.
Okay, I didn't really watch much of News Radio, but
It was
what were you doing on it?
94 to 99. I played the sort of like the maintenance guy in this radio station, and Phil was the lead anchor, and yeah.
And did you resent him because you were doing maintenance and he was the lead anchor? No.
What do you mean?
No, I'm just joking. And where was it on CBS or
NBC?
NBC, of course.
Yeah.
And
in the
so
90s.
and he was the news anchor. Well,
Yes,
he's got that
yes.
crazy voice, right?
Oh, he was great.
Yeah.
He was. We became really good friends. He was a wonderful guy. We actually played one of his clips the other day. We had to take it out of the show, but it was a clip from SNL that you could never play today about a doctor who decided that every child was female and he had to do operations on all of them. And we were like, holy shit. Holy shit.
So the idea that he died of an overdose is hilarious. Like, that's what my brother said. He said, what, do you have 4 beers? 'Cause, you know, John's dead. What, do you have 4 beers? Because he was not really much of a drinker, but
But it was drugs, right?
it was drugs.
Speedball?
Yeah. It was a speedball.
Yeah. What was
And it was this, I believe, to my knowledge, it was like the first speedball he ever had.
Jesus Christ. So what was the Woodward interpretation? What was his version?
Oh, it was just he was talking to people like, wait a minute, you're telling me that guy over there, that guy who's that far away from the center of things is telling you the facts about John Belushi? That guy way the fuck over there is telling you who John Belushi is? I mean, I did Saturday Night Live, I guess, when he was there, but he was in the movie we made called Quick Change. And he was like sterling silver. It was like every single take was just like perfect.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. And you just go, Phil, that was so great. And you go like, he was so kind of modestly proud of like, yeah, I felt pretty good about that too.
Yeah.
It was really nice. He had real modesty.
Yes, he did. Well, he was a guy who made it late in his career, you know, late in his life.
Yeah.
So before he was an artist. We have one of his albums out there in the other room.
He was a musician?
No, an artist.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, he was a musician as well. He did music
Why
as
did
well.
I say musician?
But
oh,
he did
you said one of
album
his
covers.
albums. So if I don't get it, he will.
Yeah.
So it's fun to watch. It was really fun to watch. Finally, see it live. I'd only seen it on television. To see the live show was cool. I recommend it too. They're coming to a town near you.
Yeah,
if you're
it's a
living
great
in
show.
the
It's a
United
great show. You
States
should
of
definitely go
America.
see it if they're coming to you. Dave Foley, who was on Kids in the Hall, he was also on News Radio.
Oh, okay.
He played the manager of the station, who was in charge of
Who
like
else was
reining
on
in
that
Phil
show?
Hartman.
So I
Stephen Root from Office Space and a million other things. Andy.
I saw Clayton where he came to a Jewel food store near us. The Lone Ranger was going to appear, but he was not allowed to wear the mask for like contraction, whatever the hell. So there he was, and I'm like, Mom, that's not the Lone Ranger. You know, whatever the hell it was. But it was funny to see Clayton Moore without a mask on.
Imagine a
It was just
contract saying you can't do personal
Well, no, it
appearances.
was like the Lone Ranger was copyrighted, 9 Rays
Right.
from Sundays, so he could go and ride on an elephant. I think I may have seen him riding on an elephant in a parade once, but also without the mask on. But I should talk about movies because I'm supposed to be talking about movies.
Yes.
Since we started talking about movies.
Tell me about your movie.
I got 2 movies. I have 3 movies. I'll work backwards from the one which is farthest away. I did one with Wes Anderson called The Phoenician something. That's the title. It's, I'm sorry, Wes. And they're all, and I just go through going like, what have I got to find? So I can see The Rifleman. Did you ever see
I
The
remember
Rifleman?
that. That was a
also
great
a
show.
rifle guy, but
Yeah.
he had a full-length rifle. And that was Chuck Connors, who once upon a time was a Chicago Cub. He was a baseball player.
Oh, really?
Yes. And allegedly did some art films. But also, he was good too. Chuck Connors was good. The Lone Ranger.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And that was, God, come on. Why can I not remember his name? But there were some Lone Rangers. The Lone Ranger came on, and then the guy, I didn't realize it, because there's some Lone Rangers where it's not our Lone Ranger being the Lone Ranger, and who wasn't as good as our Lone Ranger.
How do you decide what projects to pick?
It's really just what, there are certain people, like with people that I've worked with before, there's some, like Wes Anderson is one, and Jim Jarmusch and Sofia Coppola are others. And those 3 people call and say, I got something. I just say, okay, when? That's because I know that they know what I can do, and they know they look out for me, and they treat people well. I love them as people, and I love them as artists. So that's just a thing. But the other ones are more like you have to read the script, because people, the script is pretty much, if the script's not there, I mean, I can always help improve a script, but if the basic thing isn't there, it's like, I was scratching at one the other day, and I'm writing, I'm going, what the hell am I doing this for? This is just terrible. Every page is like, so, but if it's not good, and usually, in like 5 pages, whether you're not even continue reading the script at all.
What was the physical pain? What was wrong with him?
I think he did the splits a lot of times. Like Chevy's. Chevy hurt himself falling.
Oh yeah.
People have pain. Presley had. I don't know. I don't remember all the facts, but Presley had physical pain, and I don't know what, his back or something like this, sacroiliac or whatever the hell.
And they got him hooked.
And so he had like painkillers.
Right, but it's just hilarious that he was the drug guy.
It is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like good fun. It's,
Yeah.
It's like a great American story, and
Yeah.
you just see the picture. There's a photograph that exists of Nixon handing him the badge, and you can laugh looking at it, going, right, that's exactly right. They're good. They're really good. So when they call, it's like, you don't have to waste my time telling me the story. Just send me the thing,
Right.
You don't have to waste any time. I'm in. You can count on me.
That's awesome.
So that's it.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. It's
God, that's such a great feeling when you trust someone that much and you're so enthusiastic about working with them.
Yeah,
You're
it means
"Let's go."
great. And people make the making of a movie part of their living. Like Wes is probably the most extreme example in that. Like we all live in a quasi dormitory. We take over a small hotel in some city, and all the actors and like the key crew live in the hotel. And you come down for breakfast in the morning, and people pad down in their slippers and their jammies, and they have coffee and stuff, and they look at the newspaper and say, "What are we doing today?" And then they pad back up the stairs and get on their clothes, and they go to work. It's cool. It's really nice. It really is like what you always thought it would be, like in the old days. Like, what if we all lived in a dorm and we were just being funny all day, like that? Well, and that's like one of those things. They had a moment on Saturday Night Live, an in memoriam thing. They said, I was there the week of the thing. They said, yeah, so-and-so's working on the in memoriam. And I'm thinking, well, who's gone? Which reminds me, who's gone, And no, it's not who's passed away. It's what we can't do anymore to be funny, And so it was like all these kinds of jokes. And so it was just a whole clip. I didn't even see it, but I saw a little bit of it being assembled, but it could be 40 minutes long, just
Right.
all the sketches that you would get like, internet, responses like we're going to burn down the city in New
But
York.
it could be hours long today.
Yeah.
Hours
yeah,
long.
Yeah, I'm short with 45, but some of the funniest things ever done,
Yes.
like Head Wound Harry,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was one that not many people think about, but how, like somebody
Yeah.
would object to a dog eating a brain wound, like licking like the blood coming out of someone's skeletal wound,
Well,
Those
once
five
you
pages.
see it from something that once you see propaganda or bullshit from someone that and you see a distorted perception, it really opens your eyes to the fact
Yeah.
that a lot of the things you read are horseshit.
I mean, Belushi made whole people's careers possible. He made people's careers possible. Mine would be one of them. All the people that he dragged to New York. He went to New York first. He broke into New York. He took over New York, and he dragged all of us from the second city, to New York. He's the one that got everyone there. And there are musicians, and lots of them, that will thank Belushi for the creation of, the revivification of the blues, and for like the fact that there's like a House of Blues chain that blues players can go and play, and there are all these venues that wouldn't have existed without Belushi.
Yeah.
He did a lot of things for people.
What are you doing?
I get horny when I'm scared.
I'm married.
Who cares? It's just us and the shitty wildlife,
This is our son.
We're too young to be grandparents. All because your son couldn't pull out in time.
We've got house guests.
I would categorize these as a must kill.
I mean, what are we?
Family.
Oh, my God.
Can I get you anything?
I'd sell my left tit for an Advil and a cup of coffee.
You said what?
Who was first?
There was this food incident. Rocco put pubes in my wonton soup. If it's okay, I would just really like to torture him a little bit, if it's okay.
Shouldn't have done that, Rocco.
So that's why I want to ask, because this movie, the third movie, opens today, which is yesterday, and it's called Riff Raff, and this is a movie that you have to see. You
I
have
will
to
see
see
it.
this. This is really something. And this is a movie you should take 10 of your friends to and go see Riff Raff. It will be, I guarantee you, this one's a party.
Tell me what it is.
Well, there's a trailer for it up there. See, there's
Let's
Pete-
play the trailer. Put the
you can do
headphones
it.
on. We'll play the trailer.
I wasn't, there you go.
Slap some headphones on.
Oh.
No Slim Jims. Passed you out.
There was madness in any direction, at any hour. You could strike sparks anywhere. There was a fantastic universal sense that whatever we were doing was right, that we were winning. And that, I think, was the handle. That sense of inevitable victory over the forces of old and evil. Not in any mean or military sense. We didn't need that. Our energy would simply prevail. We had all the momentum. We were riding the crest of a high and beautiful wave. So now, less than 5 years later, you can go up on a steep hill in Las Vegas and look west. And with the right kind of eyes, you can almost see the high water mark. That place where the wave finally broke and rolled back.
God damn, that's good. I mean, that is just an amazing piece of writing that so perfectly captured that very strange moment in time where the anti-war, the peace-love movement just got drowned out by the Nixon administration.
It's a beautiful piece. It glistens your eyes to see it, you know, not just the thinking of Hunter and the words that he said, but seeing Johnny and how close Johnny and Hunter became, how much they loved each other and how much they shared with each other. It's really a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it is a beautiful piece. And it's just so fucking perfect.
Yeah, he got it. He really got it.
It just encapsulates that time, you know, and it's just, thank God there was a guy like him around to document it from that perspective, to give you this like insight, and that the way he did it with gonzo journalism, where he just would have real facts mixed in with fiction, and you couldn't tell what was what, and you had to be in on it to understand what he was doing.
Yeah, you had to enter the event
Yeah.
to comment on it. You had to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You played him.
I did play him. Yeah.
We were talking about it before. I loved it. With
Right.
Buffalo Room. Was that weird to play your friend?
There's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, it was any actor that has to play either a living person, especially a living person, or a famous person, has a real responsibility to that person. You know, you can't just be that person for 90 minutes. You have to realize that person was that person for 60 some odd years or 70 or however many years a person was. You've got to try to get all that into your hour and a half or 2 hours. You've got to try to take in as much as you can so you're not lying. You know, at least you're giving the best you can to say, this is who I think he was. And
Jamie, pull up 2024 Shelby Mustang Super Snake. There's cars that they make today that are unique looking
No.
and look badass.
I wish I'd bought a Shelby back when I first had a paycheck. They're such beautiful cars.
I mean, that's a beautiful car though, right? Oh, and it
But
sounds amazing.
But I'd hate to hit anything with that thing. Oh, it's got a spoiler?
That
How do
looks
you feel about spoilers?
Fucking badass. That thing looks awesome.
Well, I think the original one is like the super coolest car.
I mean, if you go back and look at, like, pull up a Boss 429, 1969 Boss 429. This, to me, is the pinnacle of muscle car design, is the Boss 429. Like, that is just
That's pretty good.
spectacular.
So
Look
now
at that.
what year is-
Look at that.
Well,
Come-
that's pretty
I
close.
mean,
Well, that's
that-
got that scoop in the front.
Yeah.
But that's pretty close to the Bullet year, right?
68. Yeah, Bullet was 68. I actually have a recreation of that.
I was watching it. They found the original Bullet car? Did you know
Yeah,
this week?
William
'Cause I saw it was on TV last
Yeah.
week, and I've watched it a lot of times. That movie, because I think Steve McQueen's pretty damn good. But when you watch the movie, it's obviously the roaring through San Francisco and all that sort of stuff it's famous for, and then there's the ending where there's the sort of story ends with kind of a flaming crash. It's kind of not really kind of an ending in a way. But watching it this particular time, it was all the moments in between all that really make the movie.
Yes.
All the quiet in between, where he's in the grocery store, he's with the girl, he's the mailbox, he's seeing these people and these people. And he has this very quiet inner self that's dealing with people very respectfully. And his blood pressure only moves, the needle only starts to move when he gets with the bad guy, Chalmers, who's obviously a fraud of some sort. And he's got him like, you see him like, not just as an actor keeping his cool, but as like a cop keeping his cool with like a person he knows is trying to use him. And those just watching that part of the performance and that part of the story was much more interesting. The first time I saw all that as its own weave through it,
Yes.
That the car stuff had very little to do with what I was getting from the people. The car stuff was nothing. And his boss was a great actor, Simon Oakland, I think his name is. He was great as his boss, who said, "I'm going to hold this till Monday morning." That kind of guy. There was some great acting in that. It's a really beautiful American movie like that.
It's just also insane that they would let Hunter get in a limousine with the president. Like, just that alone. Like, who greenlit that? Who thought that was a good idea?
He'd been he was on the campaign trail.
Sure.
He also, for whatever he was, the people who knew, and like Secret Service guys, you ever run into them, they like read people for a living. This is what they do, They read people. And they can really burn a hole through your head and your body just looking at you. Yeah. And they'll give you this one, they'll just really burn you. And, he'd been on the tour. He'd been on the road with them. They knew who he was. They knew what he was after hours, and they knew what he was during hours, where the people who were really smart knew this guy's really smart. This guy's really smart. He knows politics. And you can't try to dumb down. You can't try to like big time him because he'll kill you. He'll chop you. He's got the words to answer, and he has the intelligence. So he was a force. People knew who he was, even to get information, you got to go into the people who work for the guy, so the people that work for the guy know who he is, and they've already established that they have a relationship with him. They can speak with him. He's talking a certain way. There's a reality check. If you're running someone's political campaign, you have the best jokes about the campaign. Not Hunter Thompson maybe, but you have the best jokes because you've seen it all. You know how stupid things get. And if you can be realistic and savvy about those things, then people trust you.
Well, it's still pretty extraordinary that they also got him to agree, or at least thought he would agree, that he would only talk about football. It's just that meeting in the limousine is like one of my favorite meetings because you could feel how weird it must have been for Hunter to be sitting in a limo, getting a ride with Nixon, and they're just talking about football, and then they can find common ground.
This has been happening in my life anyway, and I'm sure it's happening in everyone's life for the last, got to be 10 years, where you meet people, we have something in common, something we got to get done, But if we talk politics, we're leaving the rails,
Right.
All hell's going to, we're not going to get along. We're not going to get anything done. To me, it's a better book than Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is really fun. But the Campaign Trail book is so insightful about America and about Americans.
Yeah.
It's great reading.
It was a great introduction to a lot of people maybe that weren't aware of Hunter. Like maybe then you'll start reading his stuff. It wasn't all chaos and acid and seeing lizard people in the bar. It was there was like there's moments in Fear and Loathing the movie where there's this one thing where Johnny Depp is at the typewriter. He's talking about how the 1960s there was this great wave of change. And then
the high water mark, you can see it on the mountains. It's a beautiful piece of writing.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
It's amazing. And when Johnny Depp is saying the way he's saying it, it's like it's so beautiful and melodic.
Yeah. Strange memories on this nervous night in Las Vegas. Has it been 5 years? 6? It seems like a lifetime. The kind of peak that never comes again. San Francisco in the middle 60s was a very special time and place to be a part of.
Most people are addicted to social media, so you're constantly getting inundated with the worst fucking things in the world all day long, and you're freaking out. It's terrible for you. It's fucking terrible for you.
There has to be some sort of a new, I don't know if it has to be a club, but, there's got to be some sort of new, it used to be music. I think music played such a big part of whatever that movement was, whatever you call the peace movement or the hippies or, whatever it was. It was an extraordinary moment in time.
Most people are addicted to social media, so you're constantly getting inundated with the worst fucking things in the world all day long, and you're freaking out. It's terrible for you. It's fucking terrible for you.
There has to be some sort of a new, I don't know if it has to be a club, but, there's got to be some sort of new, it used to be music. I think music played such a big part of whatever that movement was, whatever you call the peace movement or the hippies or, whatever it was. It was an extraordinary moment in time.
There was madness in any direction. At any hour, you could strike sparks anywhere. There was a fantastic universal sense that whatever we were doing was right, that we were winning. And that, I think, was the handle. That sense of inevitable victory over the forces of old and evil. Not in any mean or military sense. We didn't need that. Our energy would simply prevail. We had all the momentum. We were riding the crest of a high and beautiful wave. So now, less than 5 years later, you can go up on a steep hill in Las Vegas and look west. And with the right kind of eyes, you can almost see the high water mark. That place where the wave finally broke and rolled back.
God damn, that's good. I mean, that is just an amazing piece of writing that so perfectly captured that very strange moment in time where the anti-war, the peace-love movement just got drowned out by the Nixon administration.
It's a beautiful piece. It glistens your eyes to see it, not just the thinking of Hunter and the words that he said, but seeing Johnny and how close Johnny and Hunter became, how much they loved each other and how much they shared with each other. It's really a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it is a beautiful piece. And it's just so fucking perfect.
Yeah, he got it. He really got it.
It just encapsulates that time, and it's just, thank God there was a guy like him around to document it from that perspective, to give you this like insight, and that the way he did it with gonzo journalism, where he just would have real facts mixed in with fiction, and you couldn't tell what was what, and you had to be in on it to understand what he was doing.
Yeah, you had to enter the event.
Yeah.
To comment on it. You had to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You played him.
I did play him. Yeah.
We were talking about it before. I loved it. With
Right.
Buffalo Room. Was that weird to play your friend?
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, it was any actor that has to play either a living person, especially a living person, or a famous person, has a real responsibility to that person. You can't just be that person for 90 minutes. You have to realize that person was that person for 60 some odd years or 70 or however many years a person was. You've got to try to get all that into your hour and a half or 2 hours. You've got to try to take in as much as you can so you're not lying. At least you're giving the best you can to say, this is who I think he was.
He was a movie star. Like that guy was a movie star. There was something about him that was compelling. He lived his life in this sort of wild renegade way and drove race cars, and he was a man's man. And when you saw him in a movie, you believed it.